Good afternoon. It's nice to see everybody. I was going to try to share my screen and record, but I'm not sure how to do that. So I'm going to be looking at this PowerPoint that's going to be circulated afterwards, but I just wanted to give you a quick Washington update as we move into the meeting. And I also want to thank everybody from the delegation for their hard work and working together this legislative year, which is not quite over, but there's still some to come. So just kind of a level set on where we are in the defense budget process. We're actually approaching the end of the fiscal year on September 30th, and the House and Senate have done quite a bit of work when it comes to defense authorization and appropriations. After the president's budget was released on March 9th, the House and the Senate both marked up their defense authorization bills in July and passed them out of committee, which hasn't happened in the Senate in some time that early. They also both marked up their SAC-D and HAC-D, so Appropriations Defense in the House and Senate bills, as well as the Milcon VA bills in June and July. They haven't quite seen the floor in the Senate yet, but that's a big success because it's been a few years since the Appropriations Committee has been able to get all their bills out of committee and marked up in a process. So where are we now? We're in the conference process. I would be lying to you if I said I think everything would be finished by the end of the fiscal year. And so as you'll see on the slides as they get circulated, kind of some thoughts about where next steps are. One thing that's going on in the background you may have read about in the news or you're curious about is the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2023. What is this in layman's speak? It's the debt ceiling deal. So Speaker McCarthy and President Biden did reach a deal on the debt ceiling that pushed caps on discretionary spending, and the categories are broken down into security and non-security. Defense spending falls into the security category, as you can imagine. For fiscal year 24, they capped the spending at $886 billion. Fiscal year 25 is capped at $895 billion. Congress is already trying to figure out how to get around these caps, as they often do, as they're doing their own appropriations process, and they do have the power of the purse, so that is their right. We also have the ongoing background issue of disasters going on. FEMA's running out of money, as well as Ukraine. So the Senate is currently seeking to add an additional $14 billion to the top lines using the emergency appropriations process. I think that coming up in September, we should expect to see a significant disaster in Ukraine supplemental sent over. OMB sent one over last week, but the House and Senate are going to have to take that up on their own. What does that mean for the fiscal year 24 endgame is unlikely to impossible to see everything tied up by the end of the fiscal year on September 30th this year. What does that mean? We'll probably see a series of short-term continuing resolutions. I don't know if our congressional delegation has any sense of timing. I've heard everything from a 30-day resolution to a couple series of 1 to 2 week continuing resolutions, then one into Thanksgiving, and then likely one that ends around Christmas. I don't think we're looking at a year-long CR. Other people may have an opinion on that, but I don't believe that we're looking at that ourselves. Where do we stand for South Carolina when it comes to military construction? Well, in the president's budget, there was $20 million for the National Guard Readiness Center at Aiken, $7.9 million for a new automated multi-purpose machine gun range at McCready. Both of those were maintained in the House authorization process, but I do want to flag in both the Senate appropriations and authorization process, 2 additional things were added. For Senate Senate authorization, Senator Graham was able to add $666 million to authorize the cost to complete of phase 2 of the reception barracks. This is due to, as you can imagine, the cost of construction, the economy, inflation, everything going on right now. He also added in the authorization bill $4.3 million for the cost to complete of the National Guard Readiness Center at Joint Base Charleston. And an even bigger win in the Senate appropriations, Milcon appropriations process, which is where the actual spending is. He was able to add $101 million in appropriations against that $66 million authorization, as well as $6.5 million for the Readiness Center in Charleston. So there's an additional $107 million in appropriations currently pending in the Senate appropriations process. As you can imagine, this still has to go to conference, but it's a big win for the state. I'm sure it brings relief to our leaders at Fort Jackson that they can finish up the good work that they're doing. And then I just, as I do every meeting, I want to keep our eye on additional tools for federal investment. The congressionally directed spending process really did ramp up this year. We've had a lot of success over the last 2 years thanks to our delegation on cost completes and MilCon ads. So we need to think going into the next fiscal year, which isn't that far away, are there additional projects on the FIDUP that need to be brought forward? Are things slipping? And are we keeping an eye on military construction, keeping up with it on our bases ourselves? And then I think we've got to take a hard look as a community about how we can use congressionally directed spending to impact our outside the gate issues, including economic development wins such as roads, schools, healthcare, STEM education, broadband, water, sewer, infrastructure, and a lot more. Additional tools that are also coming down. We're still implementing the IIJA, so there's lots of funding opportunities that are flowing through the states right now for that, as well as different agencies. We've talked previously about the Defense Community Infrastructure Program and the Defense Community Manufacturing Program. The former has $100 million in this year's bill to compete against. The latter has $80 million. And I just wanted to flag a new program that's also being administered by the Office of Local and Defense Community Cooperation, OLDCC, which some of you may remember was previously called OEA, which is the Community Noise Mitigation Program. The NOFO, or the Notice of Funding Opportunity for that, actually just opened last week on August 15th. It's a new program, provides up to $75 million to a series of projects to do noise mitigation in communities, particularly those that are looking to land new flying missions. So I wanted to flag that if that's something that folks are interested in. I'm happy to send some more information. And Susan, I went a little bit over, but I look forward to hearing from everybody else as I'm listening in on this Zoom. Thank you.
To Suzanne, and you hear all the great work that they're doing up in Washington on behalf of us. Also know that we couldn't do without her, but that information, the construction dollars and all that, that is turning into actual business and great work here in Columbia for our local businesses, our contractors, and providing the services. So it benefits not only our military, but also our local government and businesses. I also want to ask y'all, I've never had the opportunity to do this, but we have some folks that are standing in the back. So if you have extra big rows and big seats in the middle, if you don't mind scooting in just a little bit, that would be great. So it's wonderful to see so many people here today, and we really appreciate that. So thank you for scooting. It's kind of like being at church. I love it. So, okay. And now we're going to go and let our congressional representatives tell us a little bit about interpreting what Suzanne said, but also sharing additional information on what they've been working on. Thank you, William.
Good afternoon, everybody. There's some open spots in the front too, but if you come and sit in one of the reserve ones, you got to talk. But some of this is going to sound very deja vu, so just kind of bear with me. So the NDAs and the conference process, the bill contains several key authorizations for military construction projects in South Carolina, all of which Senator Graham advocates heavily for. Appropriations bills in the Senate will need to be brought to the Senate floor when Congress returns. The likelihood of a CR until December is heavy. In the Senate MilCon appropriations bill, the senator secured $135.4 million in military construction projects. Two of these projects, the aforementioned $101 million to the Fort Jackson Reception Barracks Phase 2 and the construction of the National Guard Readiness Center at Joint Base Charleston, the $6.5 million were earmarks and not included in the House bill. The senator will continue to lobby for these and other priorities as we work to build out final appropriations bills. Our office continues to assist with constituent work. Casework is heavy right now for military records. We can assist with that with the National Personnel Records Center, which there's a lot of people trying to get in claims right now. If you know of anybody that needs assistance, please have them reach out and contact us. We can get them a heck of a lot faster than you just turning them in. Supporting with claims, appeals checks, VA hospital assistance in the areas of medication issue, community care, appointment issues, and a lot of DFAS and OPM. Our office assists with linking veterans up with their county veteran service officers or veteran service groups. A lot of times we get phone calls. People want to file a claim, don't know how to start, don't know where to begin. So we link them up with their county VSO or one of the veteran service groups that are there to help them without charging them anything, which is a problem as well. We encourage veterans who are not in the VA system to work with the VA to check their eligibility and file claims and receive the benefits they so deeply deserve. If you are a veteran and you think that you don't qualify, please at least look and talk to somebody over there and get them to check. I would rather they check until you know than you think it's no and the answer is yes, and you're entitled to things that you're not getting. So if you have any questions, I'll be around afterwards, as well as many of the other congressional offices to assist you. And we are glad to hear and glad to assist any way we can. And I hope y'all have a great day.
We like to keep all of our congressional representatives busy. So William, thank you for keeping Senator Graham straight for us and working on the narrow. We appreciate that. And then we have Brianna Bateman from Senator Scott's office. She hadn't been with us in a while because she's traveling the state and the Southeast for many reasons. So Brianna, thank you for coming.
Thank you all. It's great to be here. Again, William touched on everything that I would probably echo, but just a couple of things. Our office is monitoring the MilCon request. And I want to say thank you to McIntyre for hosting our military rep last week, Kate Hunter. She was in town and was able to visit a lot of military bases in the state. So thank you all for always having your gates and your doors open to us. We really appreciate it because it gets us out of the office and we get to do cool stuff for the day. Just a couple of other things, casework related, just like William talked about. Our office has also seen a huge increase in casework. And just so you all know, we do not double effort. So if someone calls our office and, we make sure that we take care of that case and we don't touch any of Senator Graham's cases. So that should tell you the impact that our veterans have in our state right now, which is pretty dynamic. So just if you all need anything, please let us know. My coworker, George, who handles VA military casework, is here today. He sat in for me last time. So thank you, George. And we are also looking to beef up just some contacts for our veterans that are located outside of the VA. So community contacts. So if you have a service, we would love to get your card afterwards and maybe connect with you later. We really want to make sure that we're providing our veterans the best service that we can when they call our office. So thank you all so much for being here, and I'd love to talk to you afterwards.
And then most of y'all know Alex Morris, and he works with Congressman Joe Wilson's office. He is also a National Guardsman, so he is currently deployed, and we are proud to have Miss Laura Beatty here with us. So thank you for coming and giving us a report.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your service. I'm here in Alex's stead. He is currently in Djibouti, which would be very hot, and we miss him. I'm with Congressman Joe Wilson's office and have been for about 11 years. The congressman is currently overseas. He serves on both the Armed Services Committee and the House Foreign Affairs Committee and stays quite busy. I don't really have anything to add as far as the NDAA, but I will please ask you if you have any questions, whether it be legislation or constituent service assistance, please reach out to our office anytime. Also, we are trying to gauge interest in doing another veterans fair. We've done before in the past a veterans fair and a jobs fair. We recently did a hurricane awareness fair, which went off pretty well. We just want to be sure to be active in the community and serving the community's needs. And thank you again for having me.
Okay, and then this is the first time we've had this great honor. We have with us today Representative Doug Gillum from the House District 42, and that's Lawrence and Union County, if y'all are familiar with that part of the state. He is chairman of the House Military Caucus. He's retired Army. He's a former Command Sergeant Major of the 218th Maneuver Enhancement Brigade. He also worked with the ROTC in the local high schools. So we are so proud to have Representative Gillum here. He is the one, Dan Beatty always says that we don't want to be just military friendly. We want to add military value. So in addition to all of our military support organizations, Representative Gillum is the one that helps us make those bills come through that will eliminate that military retiree pay tax and all of those kinds of things. So, sir, we appreciate you being here with us today, and we look forward to your comments. Thank you, Phil, for bringing us and introducing us. Come on up, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Susan, and thank y'all for letting me join you today. This is the first time I found out about this organization, and I think it is great just by the name. So, as a member of the State House, I'll give you a little bit about me. I won't take very long. When I come out of high school, I come from a patriotic family. You know, I said, well, I want to do that. My family wasn't rich, so I wanted to join the military. They helped me pay for school. And when I got finished, I loved the military. I joined the South Carolina National Guard, transitioned to the active duty side of it, spent 26 active duty years with them and retired June the 30th of 2015. Went to work August of 2015 with the JROTC department at my alma mater, Union High School, and spent 3.5 going on 4 years there until the guy that ran District 42, he retired. Some people asked me to look at that and consider that. I did. After a lot of prayers, I did decide to try to become a politician, as from a command sergeant major to that, and God blessed our efforts. And from 3 people running, we did win without a runoff. So I get to the House. Y'all know I love soldiers. I love veterans. And I love the military. I enjoyed my job every day when I was in uniform, and I miss it. So from that, come to the House, a couple of things I wanted to look at hard, and one is our veteran services. And one of the things I've done the second year I was in was put a bill in to relieve military retirement taxes. It sat there for a few years. There was another one I put in the third year I was there, and another guy put one in who was the Speaker of the House now. And so they took his bill and they amended it to my bill, because it had, when it first come in, if you've been out 3 years, you get this percent. If you've been out 8 years, you get this percent, and all kind of stuff like that. Mine just said, if you are retired and you're drawing military retirement, you don't pay state taxes. So, and that's what we amended it to, and it worked out great. And I don't care who gets credit or whatever, but it's good for our veterans. So that's what we done. We're doing a lot of things at the state level for Veterans Affairs, and Colonel, you know about many of them too, because you have helped. Just to tell you some of the things that we're doing that might not be tied to the military, but it's tied to people in our military. One of the things we were able to do this year, we had no trafficking law for fentanyl. So we did get a trafficking and fentanyl bill passed. I sponsored that bill along with SLED's help, a lot of law enforcement help. We did pass a trafficking and fentanyl bill that has a mandatory minimum sentence for anybody that is trafficking in fentanyl. We know it has killed a lot of people in our state. And that is one thing that I'm very proud to have sponsored. And I had about 50 co-sponsors on that with me. We're looking at some things, bond reform. What we want to do is, when they say South Carolina is a military-friendly state, compared to what I've seen, we are a very friendly military state. And I'm thankful for that. Being a combat veteran that retired, I love that. So just a couple other things. Me and 2 other representatives got to go at the end of July and to go to the southern border in Eagle Pass, Texas. We had South Carolina soldiers standing on OPs along the border, and we went down there to check on soldiers. And I can report this. It wasn't just our state. I think there's 2 other states there, Texas and Arizona, maybe it was. And I will tell you this, 117-degree heat index down there, OCP's body armor as a retired command sergeant major. And some of those, I served as their command sergeant major at the brigade level. I always told them, you whine up, you don't whine down and complain down. I had not one complaint about the heat, about the weather, and that's the way we tell them to do. But I want to tell you, our soldiers were doing outstanding. The colonel over the whole operation, Operation Lone Star, when they in-briefed us, they were 3 of us, like I said, that are representatives, and he said, "Listen, I've had a lot of states rotate through here, helping us guard our border." He said, "In most every one of them, I've had to deal with some kind of issue, maybe small, maybe big." He said, "But I'll tell you this," and because he knew I was retired, he said, "I'll tell you this, Sergeant Major, I have not had one issue with South Carolina." And, you know, that makes me poke out my chest and smile real big. So that was great to hear too. And I will tell you, folks, our border's not closed. I've seen it with my own eyes. So a couple of things that we're doing, we're looking this year. If you have ideas or anything like that, especially any of our organizations, we're trying to help with mental health, trying to get us some people that can do this and fill the vacancies in our state. I didn't mean to hold y'all this long, but I thank you, Miss Susan, for the opportunity to let me be here and speak. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. And we appreciate you for your leadership at the House of Representatives and for all the great work you did during your military service. And you are right. It does make you stick out your chest with pride when you think about all the great things that are going on in the state of South Carolina and how proud we should be. So thank you so much for that. Okay, we're going to switch gears now to our military organizations. I know y'all are going to join me in missing our General Jones. He ran out of bad jokes, so he had to go down to Florida for a bit. So Colonel Hyman said he didn't give him any. So Colonel Hyman, if you would come on over and we'll let you tell us what's going on with the National Guard. And I can tell you they are quite busy. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. And like I said, you won't have any Dollar General or Citadel jokes today. Those that have been here before, thank goodness. Representative Gillum, you're correct. Just had 150 soldiers return back from Texas on state active duty, a little different. We still have soldiers there in the federal status, still working the borders, not in Texas, but along the southwest border. They will return here in the next couple of months. They are very busy. And Sergeant Major, you're correct. Our border is not secure. It's very important what we're doing down there for the health of South Carolina with fentanyl. Whoever's the fentanyl law, I mean, what y'all are pushing on fentanyl is huge. If you ever go to Horry County and talk to some of the law enforcement down there, it's an epidemic in South Carolina, not in Texas. But to get back to what South Carolina's doing, South Carolina Guard's doing, we have 100 soldiers just returned from Egypt and Sinai, one of the longest peace treaties still in existence in the world with the U.S. In the Middle East. And we have about 225 that just returned from the National Capital Region, protecting our skies, looking at every plane that comes in, watching them get wayward. And if they do, they're responsible for, I hate to say it, of taking down an aircraft. Should it go wayward and head toward the Pentagon or another building as in 9/11. We got 300 soldiers that just returned from the Middle East, working out of Iraq, Syria, and Kuwait. Very busy, as y'all see. You don't hear so much of it now with Russia and Ukraine, but it's still a very busy area. Still have 100 plus soldiers working in the NCR, the Northern Capital Region, doing cyber operations for our federal government. For those who don't realize that, South Carolina Army National Guard has a battalion and 2 companies here in the state of cyber warriors. They're doing a great job supporting our government. It's a new mission for the military. It's definitely one it's going to keep us very busy. And just encourage everyone to support them. A lot of them end up working for you in your IT departments. So please allow them to do their mobilizations, all our soldiers to do their mobilizations. We still have 400 plus soldiers in the Middle East. And that are still working there day in, day out in the very hot region. And we also have another 400 soldiers in the Horn of Africa. So it's a very busy year for us in the South Carolina Army National Guard. But you know, our soldiers stay to it. They are very dedicated to our mission. We also have about 50 soldiers in Kosovo. Everybody forgot about Kosovo. That's back from President Clinton. It's still ongoing. It's still operation that the military has to support and defend. And this course is helping out with the Europe and theirs. So in the past 6 months, we've had approximately 1,500 soldiers deployed from the South Carolina Army National Guard. So it's been a very busy year for y'all. Y'all, you know, everybody talks about it whenever you ask somebody, hey, I'm going to see somebody deployed. They're like, why are they deployed? We still have to protect and defend our nation, and that is by protecting and defending our nation overseas. We don't want to protect and defend our nation here at home. That's why securing our southwest border is so important to us. And just a couple of things, if you're on the Eastover side and you like to get on the river and you happen to see a helicopter flying tree level or lower, that's a project that our aviators have been working on. They have gotten a low level flight corridor built from McIntyre down to Shaw Air Force Base or Poinsett, and it's actually a little bit further than that. I don't know the whole route, but the FFA has given them guidance that they can fly Nappity Earth along the river, which is really cool to watch. I wish I could get in a helicopter and have them fly me, but it's only a 2-seater and they only let pilots sit in those 2 seats. So, you know, that's huge. And I want to thank everyone over here. The multi-machine gun range, as Sergeant Major Gillum can contest, it's been over 20 years. We're hoping to get that at at McCready. It's very important to the readiness of the state and the readiness of this region to have a multifunction machine gun range at McCready. So if we can get that pushed through, and also Charleston and Aiken readiness centers, they're huge to the readiness of our force and maintaining our soldiers and our recruiting. So lastly, if you got a young person that's looking, or middle-aged, 30 and under, that's looking to do something with their life, hey, the military, all these military people, we are probably one of the only groups that still teach character, and we teach values to our soldiers and our airmen and everyone else, so to our service members. And hiring one or allowing them to join the military is a benefit to you and your organization. All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
So isn't it incredible to see where all of our guardsmen are around the world today and the work that they're doing? So, and the big thing is wherever they are and whatever you do, always keep them in the prayers, because they're always facing danger, whatever territory they're working in. So thank you, sir, for all the hard work that y'all are doing. And they're absolutely right. When you talk about our soldiers, and I know all of us civilians in here, and I'm honest, I can do it. You go out in the heat and you think all of us came in from the parking lot and we were like exhausted. They do this 7 days a week. I mean, it is tremendous heat. And so I just really applaud them, Katie and the USO and some of us out in the field at Poinsett State Park for a training drill a couple of weeks ago. We had food, we had everything. We whined and complained. Those guys said it's 116 in Saudi Arabia. And we're like, yeah, you're right. So we can learn a lot from y'all, and perseverance is one of them. So thank you so much for that. It's now my pleasure to introduce Colonel Jonathan Malone. He is from the 81st Regional for Support, and he is standing in for General Harder. So thank you, sir. And this is his first meeting here as well. So we have a lot of first timers in the audience and presenting. Thank you.
Ma'am. Colonel John Malone, Army Reserve, 81st Readiness Division. General Harder couldn't make it here today, so he sends his regrets, and also thanks you for the opportunity to have a reserve voice here. First thing I want to do is start off by giving you a little bit of background information on the economic impact that the Army Reserve contributes to the Palmetto State. We have 15 Army Reserve facilities in South Carolina. 5 of them right here at Fort Jackson. Within those 15 Army Reserve facilities, we have 71 units, over 3,600 soldiers, and 300 civilians. The total military payroll for Army Reserve soldiers in South Carolina is $102.1 million. The total civilian payroll is $32.8 million. We spent approximately $181.2 million annually within the local economies, and our total economic impact to the state of South Carolina is $206.2 million. Overall, the 81st total footprint spans 9 southeastern states, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, and we generate a total economic impact in that area of responsibility of $2.35 billion, all while supporting over 250 Army Reserve facilities, 900 units, 44,000 soldiers, and 3,000 civilians. Now just a couple updates from last time General Harder was here, and you might have heard this the last time General Harder was here. The 81st priorities are to have ready people, ready facilities, and ready equipment. So with that, moving forward, our #1 priority is to be ready and prepared, not only at the federal level, but the regional and local level. And especially since we're in the peak of hurricane season right now, if we're called upon, we're going to be ready to respond. Next update will be on a very beneficial recruiting tool that we use. It's called the Minuteman Scholarship, which supports both the Army Reserve and National Guard. Some quick facts about the Minuteman Scholarship. It covers full tuition and fees or $10,000 per year toward room and board at any college or university that has an ROTC program. It gives the student a $420 a month stipend while attending school, and a $1,200 annual book stipend. For academic year 2022-2023, we had 111 students on a Minuteman Scholarship. 71 of those were Army National Guard, 40 were Army Reserve. Total cost of that, $3 million in education support. This year, 321 new Minuteman scholarships were given out to the Army Reserve nationwide. Of those, 35 went to students attending colleges and universities within South Carolina. Overall, great program, great opportunity for anybody that wants to become an officer in the Army Reserve and also have their schooling paid for. So I'm asking for your assistance to kind of spread the word on that so that we can get individuals to take advantage of that opportunity. Lastly, we're always looking for opportunities to engage within the community and business sector. So if you find any events or opportunities out there that you think the Army Reserve could be a part of, let us know. That's all I have for today. So thank you for your time. And on behalf of General Harder and the Army Reserve, thank you for your support.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate that. It's always interesting to see the economic impact, but more importantly, the impact around the world, like we were saying earlier, as far as what we're doing and where we're going. And from the reserve standpoint, I know Jennifer will touch on this in a minute, we couldn't do what we do with the reserves without each of our employers in here. So thank you all to our employers for hiring our guardsmen, for letting them go, for letting them come back. We appreciate that. And it makes a major difference for us. Now I want to call on Colonel Price. Colonel Price, if you will, come and let us know what's going on with the Army's premier training base. Thank you, sir.
All right, good afternoon. On behalf of General Kelly, the Commanding General ATC, I just realized I think the briefing order is not based on the stars of your boss. I think it's based on the height of your boss, right? Is that it? Hope this is being live streamed. So one of the 5 things that we focus on in Fort Jackson is community engagement. And clearly we've done a great job because Miss Susan still thinks colonels do work. I don't think I need to sell you on the impact of Fort Jackson on the local community and then really on our nation. 60% of all the soldiers that join the Army are trained right over on Fort Jackson. So I'll go over a few things here. I want to talk to you about one of the premier programs that's outside of our normal mission set, and that's Future Soldier Prep Course. I'll give you a little bit on some partnerships that we're doing with the local community, and then I'll close out with some events, both past and present. Starting off with, I know most of you are aware of the Future Soldier Prep Course. If you're not, there's plenty of open media on it. It's been deemed an unqualified success. We just went through our year in review with Army senior leaders. It's being programmed for the 26 to 29 POM. So this will become a program of record, and it'll be here at Fort Jackson. It's a 97% graduation rate with a total test score improvement of about 24 points. More as importantly, and uniquely to Columbia, 40% of our fitness track soldiers lose more than 1.6% body fat a week, and 40% of those do it in the first week. So we can blame Columbia for its famously hot heat. This is a uniquely positioned place to come and lose body fat, ironically. So the success rate of those students is actually at or better than normal career track students that go on to basic training and to OSIT across the country. So this is a big deal. It's a full quarter of the entire recruiting mission this year has processed through Fort Jackson in that program. Partnerships, Ms. Susan asked me to talk a little bit about partnerships, mostly focused on schools. There's about 50 of these, 11 at the university or college level, 13 high schools, 7 middle schools, and 18 elementary schools. That's everything from hosting JROTC programs, sending our drill sergeants out to judge those events and those contests and rifle competitions. We've got back to school celebrations with the band, a month of the military child observations, and then there's obviously a host of opportunities for our leaders to go out and brief at different ceremonies and memorials throughout the year. And finally, those of you who were there at Fort Jackson for the Independence Day celebration, this was our first really full-throated event since COVID. We planned that for more than years, about 20,000 folks there. It went on without incident, and as the Chief of Staff, I appreciate that. We will make this, we're attempting to make this one of Columbia's banner events. It will be bigger and better next year. We just completed our AAR of that event, and we look to do quite a bit more to get more folks onto the installation to be able to do that. One of our big 4 events that's coming up here is the Oktoberfest event. That'll be an indoor-outdoor ceremony or indoor-outdoor event at the NCO Club there on post at 16:30 on Friday the 29th. Look to see all of you out there in your leather breeches. And then finally, the most important thing that we'll do in the next couple quarters is we'll send all of these young men and women back home on block leave. Starts on the 14th. And for those of you who are familiar with this, there'll be a lot of income being driven out into the community for about 2 days, 14 and 15. And then we'll bring everybody back on the 5th of January, between the 5th and 6th. So you'll see quite a bit of transportation and movement and income coming into this community. That's all I got. Thank you all very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Colonel Price. And when he's talking about the activities and the opportunities for the community to interact, don't forget that when you see us invite you to night infiltration training, it is an amazing event and you will love it. So you got to come out there with us. Highly recommend wait until the fall when it's a lot cooler. We went out a few weeks ago, and here again, the civilians were whining, the soldiers were doing great. Colonel Price, thank you for mentioning the month of the military child. Ashley is just beaming back there. So thank you for the work that y'all do supporting our military children. Because you know, when military folks serve, and I know y'all all know this, their children and their spouses serve, the families serve. Military children can go to 5, 6 different schools from first grade to high school. So it's quite a transition. We have people like Ashley and Jason and all the others working to help make sure that's a smooth transition. Kelsey Carter's here from District 2 and Marie. All of us work together to make sure that our military families, as they're coming in, that we reach out to them and make sure that wherever they were at their last school, that we try and place them at the same level in their new school. We give them buddies, we give them help, and we reach out and we work with the parents. So great program, and thank y'all, because General Kelly always says that we don't recruit soldiers, we retain families. So, and that's very important to us. So thank you very much for that. And now we just went to a change of command over at McIntyre. They changed commands. They sent both of them out of town. And now we have Lieutenant Colonel Renberger with us, and he's going to give us an update on the great things going on at McIntyre. So thank you, sir, for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Susan. Just a real quick update on what's going on the air side. So I'm the deputy now for Colonel Ferrario. He just took over command last week from Colonel Quadri. Colonel Quadri is now Brigadier General Quadri, and he's going to be leaving here in about a month to take over an expeditionary air base wing in the CENTCOM theater for about 6 months. So big things coming for him. Some stuff that's happened this summer. It's been a busy summer. Talking about the Army side, going up to the National Capital Region and protecting that area. We were doing the same thing for 3 months, doing POTUS support. So anytime the president left the National Capital Region, we were sending jets overhead of his location to do the same kind of thing. And hopefully in that 3 months went smooth, which means we didn't have to do any of it. And we just, we came home and everything was good for that, for those 3 months. Other stuff recently, so we got done with that. We kind of took the month of July to kind of wind down from that because it was a lot of 7 days of work, working long nights, working over the weekend. And then the Jets are currently at Key West for a couple weeks. And that's where my boss is right now. So he left me here and he's down in Key West hanging out with the Jets. So kind of a good deal deployment that we've got going on down there, but those guys are working hard down there. I didn't think it could get hotter than the state of South Carolina, but if you go to Key West right now, it is about 10 degrees hotter than it is here and about 150% humidity. So the guys are down there working hard. They're working some joint training with our Navy brethren and our F-18s down there, doing some good training with those folks. And the work hard, play hard mentality is definitely in full swing down there right now. Stuff coming up. So it's going to be a busy summer and it's going to lead into a busy fall. We've got about 130 airmen that are leaving out. The Air Force, big Air Force, has basically changed how they are going to deploy folks, and they've changed the model. And I don't want to get into all the specifics, but they basically want to, instead of deploying airmen from all over the country to one location and nobody having met anybody, and then they get there and then they have to kind of go to work. What they're doing now is they're trying to pick about 4 different bases, and there's about 5 different expeditionary air base wings across the world that they're going to stand up here 1 October. And the 169th Fighter Wing is going to be that leadership element, kind of that lead wing that's going to integrate 4 other wings together and then deploy those folks. They're going to train here at home station. They're going to deploy over to a base in the CENTCOM theater and basically stand up the leadership element that's going to basically run that base for 6 months. And that's what General Quadri is now going to go over there and be that wing commander for that expeditionary air base wing. And he's kind of setting the stage for the way the Air Force is going to deploy in the future. So big things coming for them. And then he's going to take about 130 of our airmen with him to help him kind of stand up that air base wing. So that'll all happen here in about a month or so. And then some other major projects that are going on at McIntyre. So we got 3 big kind of construction projects that are going to start here in the next month or so. The first one's going to be we're going to get a MTC facility. So it's a 4-bay F-16 high-end simulator. You're talking 360-degree domes, and that is going to give our pilots access to some high-end training that they don't have access to right now. We have access to some sim facilities out of Shaw, and then other states around the country, but this is going to give us daily access to that high-end training. So we're excited to get that started at McIntyre. The next taxiway, we're going to do a taxiway expansion. So right now, a lot of our major taxiways on the air side are 50 feet wide, and if you know anything about big airplanes, 50 feet is not enough for them. So we're going to basically expand all of our taxiways from 50 feet to 75 feet, and that's going to give us a lot more capacity to bring in the heavy airlift into McIntyre and move them around the airfield. And then the last construction project is we're building a hot cargo pad. So what does that mean to you? It's basically we're going to be able to take our F-16s from our ramp and move them over to this space on the airfield that's away from all of the buildings, and then we can load up the live weapons and then go to out to our training range. And we do not currently have that capability at McIntyre, so we're excited to have those have basically those 3 big projects happening here shortly. And then the last thing we're going to basically change our how we're training. ACE is the new word, so Agile Combat Employment for the Air Force, and you start looking at the Indo-PACOM theater with all the island chain and where we're going to have to be moving around. We're going to go try to tackle that and figure out how we send airplanes to certain places around the state and try to disconnect them from all the communication and see if they can employ F-16s and kind of train our folks in a different way over the next 15 to 18 months. That's really all I've got. Again, the recruiting pitch, if you want to go to Key West and not go to the southern border, you can come join the Air Guard. But again, thank you for all your support, and thanks, Susan, for everything.
Okay, the other common thing we have here is join the military. We have great opportunities, so thank you for that. And it really is a wonderful career. We appreciate that. And you mentioned Shaw, and I want to welcome. We have Wesley Smith with us. He's a sensor operator, and so he came over from Shaw today. We're hoping we're going to bring him over across the river a little bit, not just flying, but to work with us more often on these programs. So it's a great opportunity for him to reach out and for a lot of y'all to reach out and introduce yourself. So thank you for that. Now I'm going to leave it to the real professional recruiter. All the rest of us are just semi-recruiters. It is his job to make sure that they're meeting their marks on recruiting young professionals. So Lieutenant Colonel Kating, I can't say it yet. I'm sorry, y'all. Say Katindig. I got it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Alan Katindig. I'm the U.S. Army Recruiting Swamp Fox Battalion Commander, and I've been in command since about 30 June. And I will tell you, y'all are absolutely correct. This is perhaps the most military friendly place I have been to throughout my career. And I know that it's the same for a lot of y'all. I don't have to tell you, you can see the open source about military recruiting in general. However, we are, at least for the United States Army and the Army Reserves, we are pushing hard for this FY, and we are going to hit FY24 strong. Our mission for FY24 is 3,600 soldiers into the United States Army and the Army Reserve. And I think we're going to meet that mission. With this community, I don't have an excuse, to be honest with you. I cover South Carolina, Augusta, Georgia, and Asheville, North Carolina area. And I think I'm very lucky to be where I am. So thank you very much. If you know anybody to join the Army, my name is Lieutenant Colonel Alan Katindig. My Command Sergeant Major is Command Sergeant Major John Courts. Please let us know. Thank you.
Okay, so once again, if you are in a school or you're in a church or in a community event, anytime you get a chance, always tell the folks what a great opportunity it is, because you think about children today and what they like doing and all the hands-on, and then with the computer skills and all, they are perfect fits for our military service. So we appreciate that. Thank you too for your comments about most military friendly. And that is something that makes us very proud, is when our leaders come here and then they go back around the country or wherever their next tour of duty is, they always talk about Columbia, South Carolina, and this region, this state. We get it. We are military friendly. We respect and love and appreciate what our military members do. And it's not just the service and those out on the bases, it's their families and what they mean in the communities and what they do. So we thank you all for that very much. And I like to always brag about the fact that we are a great American defense community. And it's because of the partnerships that are represented here in this room. Without everybody here working together for the good of our military, we wouldn't achieve what we have achieved so far, and we wouldn't be able to sustain it. So, and make sure that we're always relevant. So for that, we appreciate everyone being here. We're going to switch gears now, and I'm going to go into the military support organizations. And Kevin, I'm going to let you come up and tell them a little bit about some of the fun things you've been doing with regards to military.
Oh, okay. Damn, I thought we were going to talk rugby. All right. I hate to start, as Debbie Downer in this one, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick on Alan for a second. Alan has the toughest job in the state right now, and that is getting soldiers into uniform. The part that he can't say that I can say because I'm out of uniform is last year, the Army active component alone, and I won't even touch on all the other services, missed its gate by 15,000 soldiers. This year, we will miss our gate by 20,000 soldiers. When you add those numbers together, it can have a devastating impact on the country. Why is that? Well, a lot of it has to do with messaging and talking to the right people. If you take a look right now and you listen to either the media or you see what's going viral, you don't get a pleasant picture of the military. Everybody wants to beat it down and talk about what's happening with regards to whether it is sexual exploitation or anything else. I will tell you that the military's reputation has been tarnished because we don't stand up and talk about it enough ourselves. The numbers are significantly better in the military than any other body around in the world. The values that are out there are important, and we've got to get the word out. So my priority as the civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army is to talk to a number of the what we call centers of influence. I will do anything I can to support Alan and his mission. If you know of anybody that wants to join the military, or I would suggest any service member, I know the person to go ahead and get that person some visibility. I will call Alan personally. Alan will go to that person's house, if that's what I ask him to do, to put a person in uniform. And I can honestly say that about any service. One of the things that I'm doing with regards to centers of influence is I take great pride in taking them, and you may think this is a threat, but throwing them out of airplanes. Okay, in the last couple of years, we have thrown 36 people out of perfectly good airplanes. Centers of influence. As a matter of fact, the last one we threw out is sitting right over there, that Marine who's got credit for it, the University of South Carolina, the best veterans program in the country. Now, I lost a bet because I was betting that if anybody would miss the ground with a parachute, it'd be a Marine. Cost me $5, brother. But the fact is, we're throwing people out that have an impact. He got to go out with several of our state senators, our Tommy Pope, our Speaker Pro Tem, NHRA motorcyclist. For many of you that know Addie Perez, all of a sudden, Addie Perez, who is star of Live PD and On Patrol, she within 6 hours had 10,000 hits on her Facebook page. So we're getting the word out in terms of people. As a matter of fact, next month, I will throw out 4 congressmen and our superintendent of schools. Why do we throw out our superintendent of schools? She has done some amazing things for our military that I'll brag about. Alan's predecessor could not get access to the list of individuals that you get from superintendent to superintendent on the juniors that are required by law to be provided the recruiting battalions, and they weren't being provided across the board. And she agreed to give it to us for the entire state, but there was one caveat. The caveat was that we share it with every other service. And we're more than willing to do that. But we have all got an obligation right now to reach out and touch centers of influence, because we've failed. We got to talk to moms and dads. We've got to talk to clergy. We got to talk to coaches, because without the support of those centers of influence, these young men and women do not get into the military. The reason his job is easier than most is we have a very large veteran population, and the children of veterans are more propense to join the military. But it's not just here in South Carolina. We got to push out as far as we can, and it's a big deal. With regards to the recruiting, if you just talk to some of those centers of influence, or if you need people to go out and talk to things like the Rotary or anything else, I'll find you the military leader if that's what it takes, because we've got an obligation to go ahead and fill all our ranks in all of the services. We do have the pleasure of the Deputy Commanding General of Training and Doctrine Command. Training and Doctrine Command is a 4-star command. The Deputy Commander is a Lieutenant General, native of South Carolina, Maria Gervais, and she will be here Thursday to try to help a number of our senior leaders talk about how we can go ahead and influence those centers of influence across the board. So we're making progress in that area. You heard a minute ago about the criticality of these Minuteman scholarships that are being offered. Okay, I will tell you that with just General McCarty, myself and his officer strength manager, we were able to award 39 of them this year. That was far higher than anybody else in the country. I'm embarrassed to say that probably over half of them went to that mafia called the Citadel, but that they are the ones that pushed harder to go hardest to get those in both the active and the reserve. We had the Army Reserve ambassadors. They were responsible for pushing out 26 by themselves alone. Only reason I mentioned that, the one part that wasn't mentioned, if you got a child that's thinking about joining the Guard or Reserve and wants one of those scholarships, we'll make them available again next March, and we will put them in a pool. If the National Guard, we get as many as we can steal from other states. McCarty's only got 6 and I've got 2, and we got 39 because we know who to hit up. The National Guard, they just go into a pool and they get everybody they want. So in the National Guard, if you go into this competitive pool and you hit the cut line that General McCarty says, this is a soldier I want in the National Guard, that kid will get a scholarship, and it's all paid for. We have brought to this state in the neighborhood of $8 million, whatever called this year alone, and all of those are coming from other states and coming to South Carolina. So help us award those scholarships to young men and women that need it, that are serious about coming into the military. It's a big deal. Lastly, I'm going to go ahead and throw my buddy Carter Price under the bus. He is doing great things that I want to brag about that he didn't. We have been for years now taking athletes from a number of universities and colleges around the state and training them at Fort Jackson. We took on Saturday the entire USC men's rugby club and not only force them up and down every obstacle course, but they've got a 6 sergeant major who literally runs 100 miles at a crack for fun. Okay. Decide to, on a hot day, camouflage on up and put every one of those young studs in camouflage. Now, I will tell you that I got in a little trouble for suggesting they go to 5 Points dressed like that to pick up chicks, but it did not necessarily work. My point becomes is that we are trying to get the word out to the universities and to other areas. We know they're not going to join the Army. Why do we go ahead and do that? Why do we waste our time? And it's because we want everybody to see the military in a positive fashion. These 30 to 40 young ruggers are probably going to get, well, I know we're going to get one into the Army, but the rest of them are going to be able to talk about their Army experience for a positive time for a very long time. We have had the women's basketball team. We've had the men's basketball team. Heck, I don't know that anybody knows what the night infiltration course that we just talked about. But if you don't know, it's where we shoot live machine guns over the heads of soldiers. And if you can believe this, we were sick enough to do it with the football team one time. Okay, so if you've got a great idea and you want them to experience that from a club perspective and help us open up the recruiting doors so we can get more people familiar with Fort Jackson or the Air National Guard or the 108th or even the Air Guard, we're all in. But you all can be a part of that solution. So thank you.
And I'm not sure if Kevin said a while ago when he was talking about throwing all these leaders and centers of influence out of the plane, that's with the Golden Knights, the Army's parachute team. So we don't really chunk Garrett out. Parachutes are optional. Yes, sir. And when he's talking about shooting the ammunition over the heads of the football players, that is where they learn victory starts here. And it's a major change in how they do their business over there. So we appreciate that. Okay, now we're going to switch to Department of Veterans Affairs and have Sandy come up and talk. If you know, we have over 400,000 veterans in this state. Governor McMaster likes to say we're a happy, proud, military-friendly South Carolinians. And so Sandy's going to tell you a little bit about the work they're doing with the Department of Veterans Affairs.
Thank you, ma'am. We have a few things coming up that I wanted to make you aware of. Our Veterans Summit is our report to the governor on the goals and objectives that we've set for a department and how we've reached those, and then what our plan is for next year. That will be September 7th, and it will be televised live on SCE TV. We also have our governor's brief, which is where all of the installation commanders and including Fort Gordon come in and they brief the governor on their concerns, their opportunities for their installations for their service members and the families, and how the state can assist them. And that will be October the 5th, and it will also be televised live on SCE TV. We talked before about military enhancement fund proposals. So their next round of those are due September 1st. If you or your organization are looking to put in a proposal for military enhancement funds, please, you will need to get it in for this round by September 1st. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me and let me know. And last but not least, we have a program called Veteran of the Week, where we honor a veteran each week. And then at the end of the year, we do a Veteran of the Year award. So if you know someone that you think would be a good candidate for Veteran of the Week, you can go to our website, scdva.sc.gov, and you can fill out the application to nominate them. Thank you very much.
Sandy and the team at the Department of Veterans Affairs are doing a tremendous job. They have stood up so many services that they're reaching out all across the state. So thank you, Sandy and Jason, for all your hard work in that regard. I want to talk a little bit about the employer support for the Guard and Reserve. Jennifer did a boss lift a couple of days ago, a few days ago. So come on up and tell us about what's going on.
Good afternoon. So for those of you that don't know, more than 40% of our defense for the United States comes in the form of the reserves. And so those reservists, the majority of them also work for a civilian employer. So for those employers here today, thank you for your support. we can't do it without you. So it's tough on the reservists who not only serve the military, they serve their family, making sure things run smoothly, but they also serve their civilian employer. Last week, we took over 75 employers on a behind the scenes look at the National Guard out at McIntyre. We went out with the 59th Aviation Troop Command, and we flew 75 folks that are part of our center of influence, thank you, on UH-60 Blackhawks. And those Blackhawks perform missions that include medevac, air assault, aerial firefighting, and rescue. So they got a behind the scenes look, and it was tremendous. If you're an employer and would like to join us on a boss lift, we take nominations, or if you have somebody on your team that's in the human resource department or frontline supervisors who are the ones that really get challenged with what their reservists encounter and do, we would love for you to nominate yourself or someone else. We also are in the midst of getting ready for our Freedom Award nominations, which will happen here starting October 1st. So if you have someone on your team that's in the reserve component, please encourage them to go on to esgr.mil to nominate the company for a Freedom Award. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Susan. Thank you.
Okay, so when we do our mixing and mingling, all of our employers, if y'all want to sign up for Boss Lift or you want to know anything else about the employer support for the Guard and Reserve, please see Jennifer. It was a fascinating opportunity. So you'll learn so much and be so proud of what they're doing out at the Guard. And let's see, Katie was going to come up and talk, but she said that there's been enough talking. So she's going to mix and mingle. I'm just teasing. She didn't really. She sent me a picture when we were talking a while ago about how hot it was out in the field. She actually sent a picture. I'm sorry, Katie, of her serving popsicles to our folks out in the field the other day. And if you can imagine what a treat it is to see Katie and Joni, the USO volunteers coming, they have popsicle treats, they have cold drinks from Starbucks and all those people, then you will know that it is a special thing. Tammy goes out and helps us. So if you're ever interested in volunteering with USO, we would love to have you come out. We have a USO gala coming up. And so we are delighted if anybody wants to come, you want to buy tickets and come support our folks, we would love to have you do that. And so actually Katie was trying to keep me on time, y'all. She wasn't knocking any of y'all. But I also want to bring up Jared Evans, my buddy from the University of South Carolina. He did recover from being thrown out the plane with Kevin. So Jared, come tell us about USC Veterans and Military Affairs.
Kevin, I can't tell you how happy it makes me knowing you lost $5 betting against me. Hope y'all are doing well today. I think at our last meeting, I told you to enjoy the low amount of traffic while you could, because it would be coming to an end. Well, it is officially over. We've had students moving in on campus over the last week or so. Classes start Thursday, but we're looking forward to this academic year kicking off. Just a couple of quick announcements. Last month, we partnered with Service to School. They are a national organization that supports veterans and service members as they prepare to make the transition from military service to college. So this will further amplify our ability to support our veterans and military service members during that transition process, to make sure that the onboarding for them to USC goes smooth and they get all the support and resources they need to be successful academically. We have been working on a collaborative effort with the South Carolina Commission of Higher Education. And the purpose of this project is to increase the degree applicability for military training and courses off of your JST. And what does that mean to the individual? That means they'll graduate quicker. It means it'll prolong their GI Bill. And then on the flip side of it, for universities, it'll increase retention, graduation rates. So ultimately a win-win for everybody involved. This is a statewide effort. It's not just USC. We've got 30 or so different universities and colleges involved in this project. It is going to be a heavy lift, but we're optimistic over the course of the next year or so we'll be able to get this knocked down. We also this fall rolled out a new cyber graduate degree. It is fully online. We also have an online cyber certificate course and program. So if anyone anyone's interested in hearing more about that, you can get with me afterwards and I'll get you all the information you need. Some of the upcoming events we have, really, as we look towards November, Friday, November 10th, we'll have our 15th annual Veterans Day breakfast on campus. Saturday, November 11th, we have our annual military appreciation football game. We're hosting Vandy for that game, so I would imagine it should be like a noon or 4 p.m. kick. That shouldn't be a primetime game. And then Sunday, November 12th, we've got our 6th annual Veterans Day 5K. For those of you who haven't heard about that, 100% of all proceeds go to local. I want to emphasize that local military and veteran nonprofits. We've raised $82,000 over the course of the last 5 years. This year, we have partnered with an organization called Range for Hope, run by 21-year Army veteran Alvin King out of Blythewood at the Cobblestone course. He has an incredible program. They purchase adaptive equipment for amputees, disabled veterans, and then also provide free golf lessons for vet service members and their families. Outside of that, that's really it. Just in closing, again, I'm not a recruiter, but just to piggyback off of what some of the information that's already been shared, for South Carolina residents who decide to do it, very few will, after high school, enlist in the military. After 2 years of military service, they have deferred admission into USC. So we've got this little side door access for them. And that's how much we care about our service members and our veterans at USC, and recognize the value add they bring to our university. Also, if you're serving, whether that's active duty, reserve, guard, and you enroll at USC, we cap your tuition at $3,000 per semester. I promise you, Clemson and other universities around the state are not doing that. So if anyone has any questions on that, feel free to ask me. And Susan, like always, I appreciate the time.
So a lot of great information, a lot of great programs, and I know that you're going to have a good time mixing and mingling after the meeting is completed. And then I also want to tell you, Carl Blackstone, our president and CEO, was here a little bit ago. I don't see him right now, but from behalf of both of us and all of our chamber partners, we really thank you. Dan Beatty is back in the back. He chaired this committee for a while and turned it over to Brian. So thank you, Dan. He serves on the military base task force. If you need any military assistance, Dan is the I was going to say the know-it-all, but he does know a lot. So please call on him. I also wanted to tell you, if there's anything that you are working on that we can share, I have a tremendous military distribution list. If you want to send me the information, Anna does a really great job of putting together a military newsletter for us. So we put it together, we try to send it out. So if you have information, send it to me. We'll be sending out one in the next few days after this meeting so that we can get a lot of the information from our leaders here and share it out. And I just want to tell you, if you will, please look on the back of your program, your agenda. You will see all the upcoming events with the chamber. We have a huge gala coming up on October 5th, and we're going to be down at Segra on the Fireflies Stadium. How about that? We're going to run the bases. A lot of great things set up for down to honor 100 years of the Chamber of Commerce. So you're going to want to see it. Anna and our interns have been to all the historical museums, have Googled everything, and they have put together a great history of Columbia and the chamber and the role that we form. Because, you know, over 106 years ago, business people from the Columbia Chamber actually got together, raised $50,000, bought the land that Fort Jackson's on, donated it to the federal government, and that's where we are today. So we are the Army's premier training base. So we appreciate that. And you talk about a return on the investment, it is multifold. So we have a couple of other events I just want to let you know about. 9/11 is coming up. And so we have on Friday, September the 8th, we have a 5K downtown Columbia. It's quite amazing. Even if you don't run, walk, or crawl, you can come out and be with us. Our firefighters come in, our first responders come in, and that's what we're doing, is honoring them. We have a group from Bluffton of firefighters that have run and won the race in their full bunker gear for the last 6 years. Now that's dedication. The challenge is on for Columbia and the other fire departments to come out and beat us. We have a huge contingency of folks coming from the National Guard and Fort Jackson. So y'all please come out. It's extremely special. And then on 9/11, we have on the actual date. That morning, we have 9/11 Morning of Remembrance down at the Convention Center. We'd love to have you come out and join us there. Big Red Barn has their annual Fall Jam, which is a lot of fun. And so just so many wonderful things to get out and have fun in the community, and see what's going on, and then make a contribution and just have an opportunity to say thank you for your military service. So I do appreciate it. Anybody, if you have anything, if we can help you, Jonathan's here and Elisa, they help us with organizing our program for our Leadership Columbia group. We appreciate that. Dominion's here. They invited General Kelly out to talk to their veterans group. So anytime you have an opportunity where, like they said, you want to bring the military in, or you want to take your group out to the military, give me a call. I'm happy to arrange that. We're working on a few things with the fort, so we can just go ahead and post it, and then you can sign up as you like and as your schedule allows, so that it's not a last minute, you can plan for it. And then last but not least, I do want to say we can never say thank you enough to those who served, to those who have served, and to all of our sponsors, and to all of you for being here today. So we thank you. It's a terribly hot day. We thank the State Fairgrounds for loaning us this room in this building. Sounds and Images always does a really terrific job of putting the music in. And then if you look at all of our partners, we couldn't do what we do without them. So take a look at them. If you're not doing business with them, see if there's a possibility where you can reach out and connect with them and do something. And now, without further ado, I'm going to say thank you very much. And as a treat for y'all being here today, and to give you an opportunity to network around, we have Freddy's in the back. They have some delicious frozen custard, best ice cream in town, best toppings in town. So Zach and Britt, we also have crumble cookies. So we're here to provide that calorie intake so that when you go out and work, you can run it off. So thank you both very much. Thank you all of y'all for being here. Enjoy the treats, spend the time. We're going to be here till about 4 o'clock. So I hope that you have a great rest of the summer. Look forward to seeing you. And our next meeting will be in November. So thank you very much for being here. Have a great day.